Hi YouTube. Today I'm going to take you through a seated sequence of postures, and I'll be doing spinal movements in each seated posture. So this builds on the previous video called Spinal Mobilization and Core Strength, and I'll be going through those movement patterns in a variety of classic seated yoga postures. I'm going to begin with my legs straight out in front of me. I'll turn to the side for this. And so the first spinal movement I'll do here is just simple flexion of the spine. And so I'm going to point my toes. Pointing the toes takes the sciatic nerve stretch out of the back of the leg. You can go even further here by bending the knees. And I come forward. And my core thinks, because I've done a lot of this type of movement, that I'm doing a sit-up here. So the center of my abdomen is firm, but the sides of my abdomen are soft. I have the ability to have my legs straight in this posture, and I'll come forward till my elbows touch the floor. I don't know if it's visible, but I'll poke the side of my abdomen, which is very soft, and if I press the center of my abdomen, it's fairly firm. To make this look more like a classical yoga pose, I could extend my arms forward and take hold of the heels and let my head rest on my knees. That's not required. Staying upright feels better for many people. You'll also see variations where people hold on to the toes, where people will lock a wrist beyond their feet. There's a lot of ways to work here. This is a Pashimottanasana. So I'll come up. Now I'm going to rotate to the right, and then I'll come forward through the center and upwards. I'll rotate to the left. I can come forward through the center and upwards. I can side bend here. I can bring my left elbow towards my left knee. And then if I twist to the right, this becomes a twisting Pashimottanasana. I believe the Sanskrit is Parivrita Pashimottanasana, although it could be Parshva. They kind of mean the same thing. Parivrita is more of a wringing out or a twisting. Parshva tends to be more of a side, but I haven't necessarily seen in all the Sanskrit names much consistency of when it's just a side bend or just a twist, which one they use. Side bending and twisting has a lot in common. They show up together. So I've extended the arms to my feet and shown a more classic presentation of the pose. I'll unwind and I can come up. I can touch my right elbow towards my right knee. That makes it a bit of a side bend. My left side is a bit longer, my right side is a bit shorter, and the right abdomen is firm. Then I can further twist and bring my right elbow to my left knee. This is a lot like a twisting lunge as a standing pose, or a twisting side angle pose, Parivrita Parshvakonasana. And then, if I extend the arms overhead, a more classic presentation of the pose. Coming through the center and lifting up. I started with Pashimottanasana because it's a symmetrical and neutral posture. It's kind of like the Siddhasana of seated postures, in that the legs are straight, the legs are doing the same thing. They're neither overly internally nor overly externally rotated. And so now I'm going to take the legs apart. And this is often called Upavista Konasana. I'll back up slightly. Excuse me. Coming forward here would just be elbows to knees. This is enough. Again, if the hamstrings are limiting you, or the inner thigh muscles are limiting you, bending the knees may help. And then once you make contact of elbows and knees, you can see how much the legs will straighten. To make this look more like a classical yoga pose, I could do something like take hold of the toes and bring my head to the floor, or I could turn my shoulders in and take hold of the heels. With Upavista Konasana, it's important not to go too wide. As you go too wide, it becomes closer to what's called Sama Konasana, which would be the side split. Sama meaning the same or equal. That you want to be able in this shape to take hold of the outer edges of the feet, the toes, the heels. If the legs are too wide, you can't necessarily reach them. And going forward, the wider the legs are, as you go forward, the more chance you have of pulling or tearing the hamstring at the inner buttock bone, the medial ischial tuberosity. That's the most common place where hamstring will tear. When I was assisting my Ashtanga teacher, he would push a lot of people deeper into forward folds, but he would never push on anyone in Upavista Konasana because he had just seen over the years too many people get injured doing that pose on their own or getting adjusted into a deeper shape. And if you pull or tear a hamstring, it takes a while to heal. Continuing, I could rotate to the right. I could come forward. Again, it's possible to take hold of the foot. I would come through the center and upwards. I'll rotate to the left. I can come forward. I can make it look like a classical posture through the center and up. There's a side bend. I could side bend, right elbow to right knee, and then I would twist to the left. And this starts to look like a variation of Parigasana. I'd say is a posture that it's close to. Parigasana translates to latch pose, gate pose. So I've side bend in left elbow, left knee. Then I've twisted to the right. And again, if I wanted to make it look more like a classic asana you'd see in a book, I could take hold here. Lifting upwards. Finally, I could twist to the right, and then I could bring the left elbow towards the right knee. And this becomes a type of twisting or revolved Upavista Konasana. It's interesting. Coming through the center and up. Twisting left, that makes my right abdomen firm, my left abdomen soft. And then I'm coming forward and creating a bit more of a side bend. That furthers the engagement and relaxation of the abdomen. And we'll call this Parivrita Upavista Konasana. I don't know that it's its actual name, but it works to describe what we're doing. I'm going to bend one leg. So I've taken this into a half cross-legged position. I'll twist to the right, simple twist, forward, through the center, and up. Simple twist to the left, right abdomen firm, left abdomen soft. As I come forward, center abdomen gets firm, left abdomen gets very soft. Again, it's not necessary that you take hold of the foot. I'm demonstrating that to show where these postures can go, but very often I'll just do something like this because my spine is already in its shape. My abdomen is touching my thigh. So by extending my arms forward, all I'm really doing is straightening the elbows. Yeah, my shoulders might lift a little bit and that might lengthen the upper spine more. If I drop the head, that will lengthen the back of the neck, which lengthens the spinal cord, which for some people could be good, for other people not so good. It could trigger their sciatic nerve. So if it feels good, you can do it. If it doesn't feel good, I don't think it's that important. Where were we? Side bending, right elbow towards the right knee. Right abdomen gets firm, left abdomen gets soft. And then twisting to the left. And again, to make this look more like a classic yoga pose, it could be something like that. I'm not pulling with this arm. Coming through the center and up. Left elbow, left knee. Twisting to the right. This would definitely be a Virasana. Again, you might see this. There's lots of presentations. I'm not pulling with the arms, they're just making contact. Nothing really changes from here to there, except little movement of the shoulder joints, little movement of the elbows. And then finally, twisting right. And I'll bring the left elbow towards the right knee. I could stay here, or I could reach this right arm up and overhead, and then I could reach further to the right with the left arm. Not supported here, that if I rest my elbow, my core can relax. But if I'm hovering in the air, I feel that the core muscles work, and it starts to make my body quite warm. That warmth is the flow of blood. Twisting to the left. Right elbow towards the left knee. Again, I could stay here, or I could extend the left arm overhead. It could make contact with the left leg. The right hand could grab onto the left foot. But nothing changes much. We'll do the other side. This right leg will straighten. This left leg will bend. Twisting to the right. Left abdomen firm. Right abdomen soft. Coming forward. Again, if I wanted to, I could take hold. It's not necessary. Twisting left. Right abdomen firm, left abdomen soft. Sure, it's possible to do something like this. Side bending. Right elbow, right knee. Twisting to the left. If I wanted to include the arms, or a classic Virasana shape. Side bending left. Left abdomen gets firm, but right abdomen soft. As I twist, that makes the action a little stronger. I can extend the arms overhead. Twisting to the right, left elbow towards the right knee. This one, more so than touching the foot, gave me the most core activation and the most heat. So for me, that was probably the best variation. Twisting left. Right elbow towards the left knee. And here, there's nothing really to grab onto. So I'm forced to hover and just reach with the arms. Coming through the center and up. So I've worked a half cross leg here. The next step could be to make a full cross-legged position. I like this cross-legged position where the ankles are crossed. That requires a bit more external rotation of the thighs. It requires more spreading of the inner thighs, and it requires a bit of knee and ankle mobility. It would absolutely work crossing at the shins, and you might need a little bit of height under the buttocks. If you have height under the buttocks, be careful about how far you go forward, because now you're higher up, which kind of makes the drop to the floor, well, it changes it. So this is often called Sukhasana. Sukha, like sugar, like sucrose, is sweet, agreeable. This is often called Siddhasana. A siddhi or a siddha is an accomplishment, an accomplished one. So, my preferred seat. It's a little closer to Lotus in many ways. So, twisting to the right, forward, through the center, and upwards. Twisting to the left, forward, through the center, and upwards. There's a simple side bend. I like to incorporate with my simple side bend a twist to the opposite side. That deepens the side bend. Twisting, side bending to the left, and then I'll twist to the right. This left arm is reaching further right, this right arm is reaching up and overhead to the left. And up. And then finally, twisting to the right, and then the left elbow is coming towards the right knee. The right arm can reach up and overhead. The left arm can reach further to the right. Twisting left, right elbow towards the left knee or thigh. And I'll work with the arms. Coming upwards. My right leg is on top. I'll reverse the cross of the legs. Now the right leg is on bottom. Twisting to the right, forward, through the center, and up. Twisting to the left, forward, through the center, and up. Side bending to the right, that's the simple side bend. I can add the rotation to the left. Makes it a combined spinal movement. Simple spinal movement is the side bend, but by adding the rotation, I can increase the flexion and the side bend, hence lateral flexion, side flexion. And if I want to extend the arms. Twisting right, bringing the left elbow towards the right knee. Twisting to the left, right elbow towards left knee. Working seated on the floor like this has advantages and disadvantages. An advantage is that the buttock bones are planted. Right? The sit bones are planted on the floor, which prevents my hips from moving much. That means that when I rotate, the rotation has to come from the muscles responsible for rotating the spine. I can't just shift my hips and fake it. In the spinal movement video that preceded this one, I showed how it's possible to just move the frontal hip bones forward or back and to make it appear as though the spine has twisted, but the abdominal muscles don't engage. Here, with the buttock bones planted on the floor, the abdominal muscles are obliged to engage, and in that way, you can retrain them so that as you go about your daily life, as you rotate, as you reach, the abdominal muscles may contract first, and that will, over the course of time, be very good for your back. A disadvantage of working on the floor like this is that seated postures are considered a bit more advanced and have a little more potential for injury than their standing counterparts. If you're new to yoga, I recommend learning standing poses first. They strengthen the legs, it's hard to injure yourself with them. On the floor, you run a little bit more risk of pulling something. But the standing postures are also more complicated. It's easy to see that as I move the shape, as I move my hips around, that it's changing the effect that these spinal movements have. That in addition to mobilizing the spine, I'm getting a lot of stretch where the torso connects to the lower body. And so it's stretching my hips and pelvis and lower back in unique and interesting ways. So to get into these shapes, on some level, it's harder to screw them up, or it's harder to quote unquote do them wrong, unlike the standing poses, which are a bit more complicated. But at the same time, you run a little more risk of injury. So choose your own adventure, I guess. A deeper variation of a cross-leg posture is a lotus, or a Padmasana. And so I'm going to bring the right leg into Padmasana. This is a half lotus. My right heel is outside of my right pubic bone. Excuse me, the left side of the pubic bone. So right heel on the outside of the left side of the pubic bone. The heel kind of aligns with the navel, but varies person to person. I could simply twist to the right, come forward through the center and up. I could twist to the left, come forward through the center and up. Side bend to the right, twist to the left. I could work with the arms here, come through the center and upwards. Side bend to the left, twist to the right. If I wanted to work with the arms, I could. Coming up. And then finally, twisting to the right, left elbow towards the right knee. Twisting left, right elbow towards left knee. Some variations of what this could look like with the arms is here, here, or see things like it being bound. This is in Light on Yoga. It's a variation of Artamatsi Andrasana. I don't remember what it's called. Artamatsi Andrasana, and it has a number. Iyengar uses numbers. Ashtanga uses letters. So I'll release the right leg. And I'll bring the left leg. So I'm starting this movement actively. So I'm turning my left thigh out, and I'm pulling the knee backwards so the hip is in flexion. And then I'm going to bend the knee as much as possible. So I've gotten this leg as close as possible to Padmasana, to Lotus, without using momentum and without using my hands. Then I'm going to put the finishing touches, bringing the left heel to the outside of the right pubic bone, and I end up in a lotus, a half lotus. I could twist to the right, coming forward, to the center, and up. I could twist to the left, forward, through the center, and upwards. I could side bend to the right and twist to the left. If I wanted to take the arms overhead, I could. Could also extend the twist deeper. Side bending to the left. Twisting to the right. If I wanted to work with the arms. And then finally twisting to the right. Bring the left elbow towards the right knee. here. Hooking this left elbow outside of the right shin does allow me to press the elbow into the shin and the shin back into the elbow and increase my twist. And then I could twist to the left, bringing my right elbow towards the left knee. I could work here. I guess I didn't show on this side that twisting. I could bind the right arm behind the back and take hold of the outer foot on the right. Artamatsi Andrasana. 2, 3, I don't know. It's in light on yoga. So, it's got 2 repetitions of that action, but you get the idea. So that was a half lotus. So in the same way that we did a half cross leg, we did a half lotus, took it a little deeper, and now a full lotus. So I'll bring the right leg as close as I can to lotus without help, and I'll do the same with the left leg, and then I'll assist. Now you can see that the heels are definitely outside of the navel. Twisting to the right, twisting to the left, circularizing the movement by coming forward through the center and up. Side bending right, turning, and reaching. Side bending left, twisting to the right, and reaching. Twisting to the right, left elbow towards the right knee, and reaching. Twisting to the left, right elbow towards the left knee, and reaching. You can see how you can become very efficient at this sequence as you go through it and you don't explain everything. I haven't done this in my other postures yet, and it is possible to, but this is a shape where it's important for me because I have tension in this range of motion. It's definitely a range of motion I would like to improve, is being able to extend the hip while in lotus. This is flexion of the hip. So the angle between the front of the hip, it's getting more acute. I want that angle to get more obtuse. So I'm going to take my hands behind my back. I'm going to engage the buttocks and push the pubic bone forwards and upwards. And then I'll expand the belly and expand the chest and expand the throat and take the head back. Take the head down, I'll push the pubic bone further, try to expand my belly and chest a bit more. So that was a hip extension and spinal extension in lotus. And it is possible to do it in the other seated positions that I've done thus far, but I often don't, but I always do it here. So my left leg was on top. To get out of lotus, it's good to just pull the legs apart. People get injured coming out of lotus because they want to grab this leg and lift it up to take it off of the right leg, the top leg. In this case, it's the left. And as you do that, that further twists the knee. This left knee is already rotated. The thigh is turning out, and the lower leg is turning in a bit. So there's already a rotation in the knee. If I were to lift this foot higher, I would increase that rotation, and it's possible to injure the ligaments of the knee. I'm just going to pull them apart. It's a good trick. It will limit your lotus injuries, at least at the knee. It's always possible to injure the ankle in lotus. So I'm going to take my left leg as close as possible. Gently place it down. That feels okay. I'll take the right leg as close as possible. Gently place it. That feels all right. Twisting to the right, forward, through the center and up. Twisting left, forward, through the center and up. Side bend right, twist left, reach with the arms. Center, upwards. Side bend left, twist right, reach with the arms. Twisting right, left elbow, right knee, reach with the arms. Twisting left, right elbow, left knee, reach with the arms. As you saw, very efficient. Hands behind the back, turn my shoulders in, internal rotation of the GH joint, shoulder joint. Buttocks firm, pubic bone forward and up, navel forward and up, breastbone forward and up, Adam's apple forward and up, head back. I'll look forward, recycle those instructions. Pubic bone, pelvis, abdomen, chest, throat, head. And pulling them apart. This is cow face pose, Gomukhasana. I'm going to lean back a little bit and I'm going to cross my right thigh on top of my left. This is another range of motion that has always been difficult for me. I'll see some people that first day of yoga class, they're able to get their knees to stack perfectly. I don't think my knees have ever stacked perfectly in this shape. I have noticed over the years that men struggle with this pose a little bit more. They'll tell you it's because of their genitals. I'll tell you it's because of their hips. Some men make a big show of adjusting in this pose. And I think maybe the point is to compress everything. Compression is massage. Twisting to the right, forward, through the center, and up. Twisting left, forward, through the center, and up. Side bending right, twisting left, reaching with the arms. This is nice because my right leg is holding my left thigh down. So as I side bend deeper, I'm really opening the side of this left hip. Sometimes I'll take this right arm out to act as a piece of staging. Maybe just on one fingertip. Force my core to work a little bit more. And I'll come through the center. This side, it's not as exciting. The right hip is already higher. Side bending left, twisting right. It's not that it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't get the hip in the same way. And then finally, twisting right. Left elbow towards the right knee. I could hover here and reach with the arms. I could also make it look more like a what's this posture called? Virasana, maybe? I'm going to go with Virasana. The poses that are named after gods, saints, deities, well, it can be tricky. I like posture names that tell you what the pose is. That is very functional. That I'll think of a good example. Well, I mean, we've done a few, but say Parivrita Pashimottanasana. If you know what Pashimottanasana is, it's just a twisting Pashimottanasana. We're going to change legs. We've done everything. Whereas Virasana, it's just named after Bharadvaja, and I don't know exactly who or what Bharadvaja is known for, but I know has some place in Indian mythology and religion. Twisting, forward through the center, up. Twisting, forward through the center and up. Side bending right, twisting left. Again, a little less exciting because the left hip is already on top. But this one, side bending left, twisting right, spend a moment here free floating, and then I'll rest the left arm like staging. Maybe one finger. You can feel how much that one finger is working. Twisting right, left elbow. Twisting left, right elbow. So I could hover here, or could make it look like this twist. This may actually be Artamatsi Andrasana. Again, a posture named after a deity or saint. Arta is half, but Matsyendra, Lord of the Fishes. A fish who became a saint. This might be Artamatsi Andrasana. Yes, because if this bottom leg was in Lotus, it would be Purnamatsi Andrasana. So, Virasana would be this one, which we could do spinal movements here. Maybe we will. The next shape I'm going to show is Virasana or Vajrasana. Vajra is a thunderbolt. Vira is a hero. So either hero's pose or thunderbolt pose. They're kind of synonymous in different systems. We'll give these postures different names. It's possible to go forward in this one. Twist. Excuse me. Twist. All this twisting and side bending is good for digestion. Side bending right, twisting left. It's a unique shape. Gives a nice sensation on the outer hip. Side bending left, twisting right. And then finally twisting right. And bring that left elbow. Twisting left, right elbow towards the left knee. This one's symmetrical, it's nice, you don't have to do two sides. This shape is one that I like to work the hip extension in. So I'm going to push my buttock bones forwards and down, pubic bone forward and up. And then I'll come onto my back. A perfect fit. A lot of variations here will have you take the arms overhead and hold the elbows. I have a bolster here that limits my shoulder. Technically, arm overhead is shoulder flexion. It's also possible to interlace the fingers with the palms facing away from you. You do that on both sides. I like to lift the buttocks off of the floor. I feel that gives me a nice stretch in the quadriceps and encourages the front hips to open more. It's also possible you could reach upwards towards the ceiling. I don't normally do this variation, but well, I touched on it before. So if I take one leg into hero's pose and the other leg into lotus pose, this is a unique shape because you get a deep external rotation of the Padmasana leg and you get a deep internal rotation of the Virasana leg. And I'll go through my spinal movements here. My misnaming of the previous posture as Bharat Vajrasana led to me doing spinal movements here. So you see I'm going through just the same pattern over and over again. This is the side bend with the twist. I started with the simple twist. And then this is the twist with the opposite elbow. It's kind of the opposite side bend. But I feel like as I bring my left elbow towards my right knee, it shortens the left side of my abdomen further. And again, to make this look like a classical yoga pose, hold on to the knee. People will do this. I don't know, it's fine. It's all finishing touches. It's all icing on the cake. The main and most important part of any of these postures is the movement of the spine. And so this is just as good, if not better, than the bound action. Here I'm hovering in the air. It's forcing my core muscles and my back muscles to stabilize me. My shoulder muscles are working to keep the arms in place. As soon as I put a hand down and pull and bind, my core is state engaged, but it's possible for me to relax it completely here. Whereas when I'm here, I couldn't relax my core fully if I tried. That something has to hold me up. So this was left leg in Hero or Virasana, right leg in Padmasana or Lotus. So I'll release. Again, I'm not lifting that right leg up with my hands, I'm just letting it go. That's safer on the knee. And you can see as I come into Virasana, I just lean to my side, I bend the knee and I let the leg come into its shape. I don't pull the leg into its shape. Left leg as close as I can to Lotus, and then gently place it. Excuse me. Twisting to the right, forward, through the center and up. Twisting left, forward, through the center and up. Side bending right, twisting left. Again, to make it look like an asana you'd see in a book. Here we are, get tall in the chest. Spin in the belly and chest, try to look like Mr. Iyengar. Side bending left, twisting right. Again, a classic asana shape. And then finally, twisting right, left elbow towards the right knee. Twisting left, right elbow towards the left knee. And I'll release the Lotus leg. And then I'll release the Hero leg. Because I added that one at the end, I am now ending in an asymmetrical posture. I like Hero's pose to be one of my last poses of the sequence because the legs are doing the same thing. I started it symmetrically with Pashimottanasana, straight legs. I ended it, in theory, symmetrically with Virasana, also straight legs, legs doing the same thing. Because I added that extra half Lotus variation at the end, I'm going to end in Malasana. And Malasana is an interesting shape because is this a standing pose or is it a seated pose? Or is it something else? Is it an amalgamation of the two? You decide. This shape's not available to everyone. But if you have the ankle and knee mobility for it, I believe it's a very, very useful shape for the body. It allows the body to return into its fetal position. I used to have a very nice bind in this shape. I don't any longer. I've lost a little range of motion. And and I've gained about 20 pounds of muscle mass. And so, which is roughly 15-20% of what my body weight was. When I was binding in this pose regularly, I was hovering around 105 to 110 pounds, and now I'm about 125 pounds. So 15-20 pounds of muscle mass depending on the day, or the week, whatever the month. And well, it makes the bind a bit out of reach. Thighs have gotten thicker. I can twist in this shape. Right? I could hover here. It's just simple twist to the right. This is the first pose of second series. I can still bind in this one. It's not a deep bind like it used to be. Pashimottanasana, the noose. Let you know what's coming in second series, Ashtanga. Twisting left, simple. Elbow to knee. Excuse me, not elbow to knee, armpit to knee. This arm turns in, your other arm reaches out and behind. And again, a touch of the fingers. A bind in the loosest sense of the word. But yeah, the noose. Fascinating. You can side bend here. I have to shift my knees to the left. It's a little bit of a fake side bend, but I could twist further to the left as I side bend to the right. Shift my knees and hips to the right as I bring my left elbow towards the floor and then twist further to the right. This feels good. It's a nice stretch in the outer hip. And then I already kind of did it because I showed off Pashimottanasana, but I could twist to the right and bring the left elbow across. I try to hover here off of the knees. That gets the core to work more. If you're resting on your thighs, your core has permission to turn off. If you're not resting on your thighs, something has to keep you hovering in space. Because gravity is always working. So, there we go. So that is, oh! Boy, I knew I was forgetting something. Baddha Konasana. How could I forget Baddha Konasana? Bound angle pose. The butterfly. Twisting to the right. Twisting to the left. You saw that, maybe. As I twisted left, my right knee wanted to lift. That meant that there was a tightness here. And as I asked the abdomen to turn, this right knee wanted to lift. I asked it to go back down. Side bending to the right, twisting left. Side bending to the left, twisting right. Doing spinal movements in Baddha Konasana was what really allowed this posture to open for me. That in the Ashtanga system, you do a forward fold here, first with your head to the floor, and then you round the spine more, and you touch your head to your toes. And that never got my Baddha Konasana to really open fully. But doing spinal movements here really got it to open. It just asks a lot out of the groin to be able to mobilize the spine in this shape. I usually do this before Padmasana. But I forgot, so here we are. And as my Baddha Konasana started to open, I was able to start to work on some of the deeper variations of Baddha Konasana. This isn't truly a pose in the Ashtanga system, nor do I think it shows up in light on yoga, although it's a useful shape. This is sometimes called Yoni Asana. Maybe this is in the 4th series. No, they have Yoni Dandasana, which is different. You have a foot turning back. So, I'm using my hands here. I haven't touched on this shape in a while, but if you turn and then I turn my body, let's see. And then it's possible to flip over the feet. For Mula Bandhasana. Don't know that I'm warmed up enough for this one. There we go. A deeper variation of Baddha Konasana. Haven't touched on that one in a while. I don't do the extreme ranges of motion much anymore. It's fun to play with them here and there to see if you still got it or if it's lost. Sometimes it's lost. So that's many of the seated postures in yoga with spinal movements. And so play with some of these. Sequence was a bit out of order than I would normally do because I forgot the Baddha Konasana. But more or less, there it is. Thank you.